Hello and thank you very much for visiting my YouTube channel Historical Rifles, and this time we will take a look at the Hungarian Puska 43M, which was the successor to the older model, the 35M, this one here at the back, which we did a video on some time ago. And when we go over the 43M, we will do some comparison to the older model. And we will notice that there are indeed a lot of similarities between the two. And we will see that the 43M is mostly an updated version of the 35M. But before we will go into the details, some short history. Where does it come from and how was it used? Basically, long story short, the 43M started out as a German contract variant of the 35M, I would say. Basically, the German government desperately needed more rifles at that time, and they contracted the company FEG in Hungary, in Budapest, and asked them if they could make a rifle which is similar to the K98K, which was the standard issue at that time for the German infantry. And Budapest said, yes, we can do it. We can take the model 35M, do some updates, change the ammunition to the standard German version, 8x57 IS, and produce it for you for a certain number. And the Germans and the Hungarians agreed, and this is how the G98/40 was born. And basically it looked very similar to this one, to the 43M. After some time, the Hungarian government decided that we could also need an update and could adopt it and also standardize the ammunition with the Germans, because the Hungarians and Germans were allied during World War II. Thus, they decided to adopt the German G98/40, but they made some, I would say, modifications back to their standards, which they introduced with the 35M, and they took over those parts and designated the new rifle the 30M Puska. As the name suggests, it was adopted in the year 1943, and it stayed in service, in Hungarian service, until 1945. It was also produced for the Hungarians between 1943 and 1945. There are some rumors which are unconfirmed so far that say that in 1948 was another production run, but it has neither been confirmed nor denied. And those were used alongside the older models, the 31M and the 35M, until the very end of World War II. And then, as we all know, Hungary lost to the Russians, and then they had to adopt the Russian infantry weapons to standardize the caliber with the Russians in the Soviet Union. So I would say let's take a closer look at the 43M. We will also check out the bayonet at the later time. I will make some space and put it away. And as always, I would say we will start at the front. Before we go into the details, I would suggest that you check out the video on the 35M, which we did some time ago. I think it's a good introduction to the 43M, as they shared so many similarities. And I think, honestly, that the 43 is just an updated version of this one. So I suggest you check out the older video. I will link it at the description of this video. Please check it out. And then we will move on to the details of this one. So let's start. As always, we will start at the front sight. The front sight is hooded. It has a complete hood. The front sight itself is triangle shaped and it's driftable. And when we put the sights of the 35mm and the 43mm side by side, we can see that they are, in my opinion, identical. Then we will move on to the nose cap, a front barrel band. Also, in my opinion, identical. Both have the same bayonet lock, which could be replaced to a stacking rod. Sadly, I don't have a stacking rod for those yet. They are really, really rare, I would say. So I don't have the chance to show it to you. Then we will move on to the barrel band. We have sling bars, and we also have a sling swivel at the bottom. They are also identical. Then we have, or let's say the 43mm kept the full stock, but we can see one of the changes here. The 43mm did not have those finger grooves here. I guess this was done to make the manufacturing more efficient. And if we look very closely, I'm not sure we can see it in the camera, but we can see that the rear sight both have a tangent leaf rear sight, but we can see that the curve has changed. And this is naturally because the ammunition of the 35mm was 8x56 rimmed. The old, let's say, Austro-Hungarian ammunition, and the 43mm used 8x57mm German standard infantry Spitzer cartridge, and it has a different trajectory, and we can see this in the curve, which is different. Other than that, I would say the overall design of the sight is the same. The numbering has been changed, but both are numbered from 100 to 2000 meters. But the 43mm now has numbers for every 100 meter step, starting here at 100, 200, 300, 400, and the 35mm has the first marking at 200, which is numbered, but they have the steps between are just marked with notches. That's one of the differences which I found out. We can see that both have the same V-notch cutout for the rear sight. And let's try to get the side picture. I think you get the idea. So I would say then let's have a look at the action. This is where, in my opinion, the biggest or the most major change between the two occurred. The older model, the 35mm, used, as we know from the last video, en block clips for 8x56 rimmed ammunition, and the 43mm uses a stripper clip system very similar to the one on the K98K for the Germans. This was one of the requirements made by the Germans, so that for the infantry guy, the operation was as similar as possible to the K98K. They could accept the same standard Mauser stripper clips for 8x57, so they could share the stripper clips and also naturally the ammunition. But what was different between the K98K and the 43M is that the 43M used the Mannlicher style turnbolt action with the usual split receiver bridge. And comparing the two, the 35M and the 43M, I think the action itself looks rather similar. The most noticeable changes are it has now the cutout here where you put in the stripper clip, and it has also here the usual cutout so you can strip them down into the box magazine. We will see this in a minute. Other than that, I think they are rather similar. We can notice that the button to release the bolt assembly looks a little bit different. The old model, the 35M, had some knurled surface here, and the new one doesn't. This is maybe for ease of manufacturing. And what is also noticeable, the 35M has a straight bolt handle with a ball here at the end, and the 43M now has a bent bolt handle with, I can show you like this, with a flat surface at the bottom, which is knurled. So it has some checkering, which I honestly really like. It's really easy to grab and you have a very good grip. What is also different to the German K98K is that the 43M still is a cock on close operation, like the older model, the 35M, and the German K98K was a cock on open bolt system. But I guess for the standard infantry guy, this might not have made a very big difference. We still have this very good cocking piece, if you ask me, where we can decock the rifle, which we don't have on the K98K, but it's still present here and has been taken over from the 35M. The 43M takes the standard 8x57 IS Spitze round from the Germans. This is original ammunition and an original clip from that time. The ammunition is from the year 44. This is how it looked like back then. Those were mostly, as we can see here, for example, steel cases. But we will put this away very far so we don't mistake it for the dummy rounds. Those are actual live rounds. I will put it away for safety reasons. Here we have modern ammunition, 8x57. It's still available, standard ammunition nowadays still. For example, manufactured by S&B. And as we can see, this is not live ammunition. Those are dummy rounds. And so we can play around a bit. I brought dummy rounds, which we can load. As usual, we will put it into the stripper clip. By the way, There is a loading and unloading short already on my channel. Please check it out. I've put the link into the description. And as usual, I would say you open the bolt. It does have a bolt stop, same as the K98K, which I really like. Put the stripper clip here into the cutout and then push down the rounds into the box magazine. Sometimes the clip falls down. You could actually eject it by moving the bolt forward and it auto ejected. I usually don't do this because, as we all know, this stuff is very old and I don't want to damage anything. I'm mostly a collector and not a shooter, so this stuff is more for playing around with dummy rounds. You would then close the bolt, move the round into the chamber and close it. I won't do that now because the rounds sometimes get stuck in the chamber. I did not fire this rifle yet because I still have some work to do on it, but it's pretty much fully functional, just needs some more cleaning. So let's get the rounds out. All rounds are out, magazine is empty, and we have the bolt stop. We cannot close the bolt to indicate that the magazine is empty. If you want to close it anyway, push down the follower and you can close the bolt and we can uncock it. What we also have is the usual flag safety. It's in firing position. It's marked with N and Y. I guess it's some kind of Hungarian abbreviation. And we can also put it into the safe position. There is a C marked here. And we cannot fire it. And also the bolt is locked. We put it back into firing position and uncock the rifle. Also, one of the bigger changes, I think we talked a little bit about it before, we now have a box magazine instead of the en-bloc system. The advantage is we don't have this opening anymore at the bottom. It has now a magazine plate fully closed. And we also do not have this button here anymore. This button was used to eject the en-bloc clip. It's not needed anymore. So then let's move on. I think we talked enough about the action. We then have, as we see, a split stock, two-piece stock. Here we have a metal ring with a sling bar. Those are also very similar, or the same, I would say. Also the same for the trigger itself. I think it's also the same. Trigger guard is naturally different because we don't have the magazine here anymore. And the stock itself, the butt stock, is also the same, I would say. No major changes here. Also the metal butt plate is the same. We have a sling swivel here at the bottom. As we see, sling swivel on the side for side carrying over the back, and sling swivels at the bottom to carry it over the shoulder. So we have both options, which is always good in my opinion. And what is also the same, or carried over from the 35M is the huge serial number on the butt plate, which is pretty much special for Hungarian rifles. So I think we should now take a look at the bayonet. It's this one. It's called the 35M. It could be used for both the 35M rifle, which it was introduced with, and also with the 43M. To mount it, you put the barrel here into this muzzle ring and the bayonet lock here in this hole at the back, and just shove it onto the barrel. For some reason it won't go onto the barrel now, and I do not want to use any force to not destroy anything, but I think you get the idea. Let's put it back into the scabbard. I will do a separate video on the bayonet soon. I think it might be the next video which I do for the new series Historical Rifles and Bayonets, where we go over the bayonets in detail. To summarize and some closing words, I think that the 43M was a very good design. Basically, they took the predecessor, the 35M, used what they had and included some German features into it. But the advantage was that they could still use a lot of the parts and also the machines to produce them, which they already had. They also could use the same bayonets, which they already had. So from a production point of view, this was definitely a good idea. They changed the caliber to the German 8x57. I guess this was pretty much a logistical decision, so they could share ammunition supply with the Germans on the front line. The round itself is very good, as already said, maybe a little bit overpowered, but as we can see, the rifle could take it. Also, the round before, the 8x56 rimmed, is also, in my opinion, overpowered. So the rifle design was all ready for a very strong cartridge. I think what they did very well is when they included some of the features from the Germans, they managed to reduce some of the manufacturing costs by making some of the parts easier. That's also certainly a good idea in wartime situation. We have to remember that when this rifle was designed, war was already ongoing. When the 35M was designed, World War II was not started yet. It was in the year, or let's put it like that, it was before 1935, before it was adopted. So from the point of view, I think the point of view changed when the war was going on. But overall, still a very, very good design, very, very effective. I couldn't find any real, I would say, disadvantages or what I don't like. Concerning the action, the Mannlicher action is at least as good as the Mauser action, in my opinion. It's pretty much a personal preference, I would say. If you prefer cock on closed or cock on open, for me, when shooting, it doesn't really make a difference, honestly. But naturally, I don't shoot in a wartime situation. I shoot at the range. I did not try this one at the range yet, as it still needs some work. And I'm not sure if I will shoot it, because these, and also, as said in the video, in the 35M video, both are extremely rare nowadays. Hungarian rifles are extremely rare. Also, the predecessor, the 31M, in a good complete condition is also very rare. So you really have to think about if you want to shoot them and risk that anything breaks. If something breaks, it is pretty much impossible to get replacement parts, original replacement parts. And you also risk that the rifle does not match anymore if you have a matching rifle. So I'm not sure if I will ever shoot them. Anyway, as already mentioned concerning collecting, those are almost impossible to find. I was very lucky to get them. If I ever get the chance, I might want to get another 43M, as this one is not overall not in the very best condition, complete to the 35M. But I'm still very, very happy that I have those, because from a historical point of view, those are really interesting, in my opinion. They really show that if you go back to the very old Mannlicher 95 straight pull, they carried over from the very old Mannlicher straight pull up until the 43M in all the different models, in all the different variants. I would say you can always find some routes which go down back to the M95M straight pull. For example, one of the best giveaways is here the cocking piece. So that's it from me. As already said, I will soon do a separate video in my new series Historical Rifles and Bayonets, where we talk about the 35M bayonet in detail. I hope you enjoyed my content. Please like and subscribe. It does help a lot, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you. Bye bye.